I'm Lucia Thompson, board-certified family law attorney, divorced mother of 3, and Valley-born Latina. And I've dedicated my career to helping men and women understand and overcome the complexities of divorce. Whether you're considering a divorce or living through the aftermath, let's dive in. I tell clients, if you think your husband is cheating, women primarily, just accept it. He cheated. Because you're going to go spend $5,000, $10,000 on an investigator to tell you, well, we're not sure. We saw him go into the hotel room and they came out 2 hours later. But do you know they did something? And the husband, and I say the husband in this case, will always deny it. And so you're crazy. No, that was a business meeting. Or no, they didn't see me walk out. And you're still being gaslighted and you're thinking, am I crazy? Like, did the investigator get it wrong? Or the investigator will record them at a bar somewhere. 2 people talking, your husband and some woman. And they're talking. You're like, well, he's getting a little close, but I'm not sure. But very rarely will you find incriminating evidence that just answers it for you. Like, for sure, we caught you in the act. You were naked and you all were, whether you're naked or not, engaging in something that you shouldn't be with someone else or that I wouldn't like, because some couples are okay with it. So, I tell people, if you're one, willing to see it, if it exists, then do it. And number 2, if you have the money to do it, then do it. But again, if you're making $40,000 a year, do you really want to spend $5,000 to $10,000 on a private investigator to come back and possibly say, we don't have the proof, but we're pretty sure something happened because they were in the hotel room for 2 hours. So we don't have anything inside the hotel room. With that being said, also, there are certain lines that private investigators cross sometimes. I had one where there was a suspicion that wife was a prostitute. And the investigator went undercover. And the investigator engaged in sex with this person. That was very inappropriate. Very inappropriate. But the husband now is convinced, okay, the rumors I'm hearing, they're true. She really is a prostitute. And she wasn't like the prostitute on the side of the street, that kind of deal, or on the internet. It was just, certain people that knew. And so he needed that for himself. Could I use that video in court? No, because the guy was committing a crime. So it's usually, I believe, for someone's mental health to say, I know you did this. I'm not crazy. But very often just get ready for the fact that you might not get that evidence that you need. And now that's my answer for adultery stuff. Financial stuff, we have really good investigators that will find you things that I can't find you. They have access to databases. They have access to people at financial institutions that can get you information that I can't. They can tell you where someone has a brokerage account, where someone has a retirement, where someone has a bank account. Usually, like in a divorce, I'm limited in terms of the search I do for property. So I'll do a search, Hidalgo County, Cameron County. Okay, do either party have property in their name? When you hire an investigator, they look at the whole nation. And so they're able to see anywhere. And so sometimes you have people that have assets in other states. And so that's helpful. International divorces, that's where it's helpful too, because the investigator can do so much more that I can't. I can't go into Mexico and do something because then I'm practicing law in Mexico and I can't do that. So the investigator is helpful, I believe, in financial stuff. Another quick thing as a little tidbit. So my mentor was Katie Klein, or is Katie Klein. And I worked for her. She's at Dale & Klein, and she was a founding member there. Her husband was Roy Dale. And I adored Katie as a baby lawyer. And she was my idol, and I looked up to her, and I learned everything from her. Not everything, a lot. And when I went out on my own, Katie and I started doing cases against each other. And it was really awkward because I know Katie's tricks, and she knows me well to be able to read my nonverbal communication. And so I couldn't bluff a lot. I mean, I would have to, but I knew she knew. So we have this ugly case against each other. And she's telling me, Lucy, your client is a female entertainer and takes her clothes off. And I said, Katie, you're crazy. My client is blah, blah, blah. And there's no way my client. She's like, Lucy, I'm telling you. And she looks at me and she says, I'm telling you. And I said, Katie, okay. I go and I talk to my client. My client gets upset and says, how dare she accuse me of something? She's just a real proper person, right? Like, that is just outrageous. I've never been to such and such place, and just flat out denying it. And we believe your client, but yet I know Katie to know what's going on, right? Sure enough, we walk into court and Katie gets the investigator on the stand and puts a video. And my client is sitting next to me here, and the video is right here next to her, and it shows somebody's buttocks with a tattoo. And Katie asked my client, is that your tattoo? Yes. And the investigator's on the stand saying, that's her face, you just don't see it. And then you continue on the video and you see it's my client on this stage, half naked. And it's okay to be a stripper. I have a problem with it. But tell me, because if I get caught in court surprised, that's a different story. And so Katie and I, of course, had this huge, horrible fight. And the judge saw us walking in together as friends, because we're friends. And then he sees us fighting. And he makes I'm going to forget the exact words, but some comment like, you bipolar, catfighting ladies, or something like that. I know the word bipolar came out because we came in happy and left mad. Like, you all get out of my courtroom. Go figure it out. Yes, judge. And I walk out and I have to have a serious conversation with my client. Like, you don't lie to your lawyer. You just don't. So the other lesson, I think, with private investigators is act like someone is always following you. And act like someone has your phone bugged. Act like someone is always listening. Your house is bugged. There's cameras somewhere. Just know it. Just think it. And I was recently asked, okay, well, what about like law enforcement officers? You know, do they do stuff like that? I tend to see it more in law enforcement officers, but I see it more, I think, in men. Men tend to be, my opinion, me generalizing, big about putting up cameras in the house. I'm talking like in the bathroom, in the bedrooms, usually not the kids' bedrooms if they're teenage kids, putting the cameras up. Women tend to be big about just wanting to know where the man is. And so I've seen, you know, like they drop an air tag in the car, in the trunk, or they put a GPS tracker, that kind of stuff. And those are things that the private investigator normally gets you, right? But what do you get in exchange for it? And so, okay, you know your husband went to McDonald's. Who were they with? Like, are you really getting the satisfaction of it? Another little tidbit along with the adultery that made me think of it is I tried a case against a lawyer, and we settled everything at mediation. I don't know, the estate was probably like $500,000, and they settled all the kids' stuff and the property. The one issue we had was whether her husband had committed adultery. And I had mentioned earlier how I think culture plays a big part sometimes in my divorces, especially the Hispanic culture. And I'm Hispanic as well, I get it. But in this family, it was really big that the court determined, or that he admit, the husband, because I had the wife, admit that he had an affair. Because there was a huge stigma for this family in Mexico, in their social circle, if you're divorced. It's frowned upon, it's not good, you're obviously damaged goods. And so they're thinking, what is the second husband, or, you know, the new boyfriend or whatever, going to think of her if she's been divorced? So we needed to say adultery. Okay. It's a clear-cut case. The guy got on the stand. He says, yes, I committed adultery. Yes, those are the charges, the flowers, the lingerie, the everything. The girlfriend gets on the stand and says, yes, we live together. Yes, I've been seeing him before the divorce started. Like, it was clear-cut adultery. The judge says, I find that there was adultery, but I'm not willing to rule that there's adultery for you to put it in your divorce decree. And his logic was, those children are going to come up later, or they can, and come get a copy of their divorce decree, and it's going to say that daddy committed adultery. I don't want the kids to know that, so I'm not going to put it. Okay, of course, I screamed and yelled and argued and did everything I could. And the client could have appealed, but for her, okay, the fact that the judge put it on the transcript and he had it was enough. And so that's a case that I could have for you on a private investigator. You have all the evidence. Do you know it's going to get you where you want to get? And so we have really good private investigators. I'm not saying don't use them. I'm just saying know what you're going to get in return. And know that if your estate is worth $100,000, is it really worth spending $5,000 on this investigator? But again, that's kind of who I am. I'm real straightforward, and this is how it is, and let's think it through. So hiring a private investigator, I believe, is a good thing if you have the money for it, and if you're willing to accept that you might not get all the answers you want or the result that you want. I hope this has provided you with insights, comfort, and perhaps a new perspective on your own divorce experiences. Remember, you don't have to go through this alone. Join us next time as we continue to navigate the complexities of divorce together. Until then, take care and stay strong.